Oh my god. Oh my god, I was on a generational run. I actually could have hit 100%. I don't belong here. I have control. I want a perfect body. I want a perfect soul. Want you to know I'm fucking special.
Kyle, putang mahal.
Spike down A.
Long.
Close.
One enemy remaining.
Oh!
Oh,
I had 101. I'm fucking bored, bro. Let's watch some YouTube while playing.
Question: what does Wayne Gretzky, Lionel Messi, Novak Djokovic, Barry Bonds and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar have in common? It's not that they're all champions. Barry Bonds never won a World Series. It's not that they're all considered the greatest of their sport. LeBron and Jordan are greater than Kareem. See, all these athletes share one common achievement: MVPs. In their respective sports, no one has been crowned the most valuable player or the equivalent award more times than these guys. However, among these greats, one man stands above the rest, winning 9 awards over the span of 10 years. Wayne Gretzky represents the gold standard for domination. But there's a problem, because without downplaying what Gretzky managed to achieve, in terms of MVPs, one guy has everyone beat. See, every year, PGA Tour players who have played in at least 15 money events are invited to vote upon who they believe had the best season. So, for example, last year in 2025, Scotty Scheffler was crowned the best
Bang!
in the world for the 4th year running, joining the exclusive club of Jack Nicklaus, who has won 5 of the awards, and Tom Watson, who has 6. However, there's one man who sits completely alone at the top of the list: Tiger Woods. See, if Scotty wants to catch Tiger's record, he would have to win every single award until 2032 to equal Tiger's 11 Golf Player of the Year awards. By far the most MVP awards in sports history. But that's just scratching the surface, because you might know the name Tiger Woods, but the numbers show you probably don't truly understand how ridiculous he was.
That will explain my dad's second sucks and third's even worse. I want to win. That's just my nature.
Heading into 1997, the game of golf had a problem. Known as a sport for the wealthy middle-aged white man, it wasn't necessarily struggling to survive, but it wasn't growing either. And nothing shows that more than looking at golf's most prestigious tournament. When you hear the term TV rating, I feel many get confused of what it actually means. However, it's actually relatively simple. A 1.0 rating means exactly 1% of homes in the US tuned into a specific program. So, for example, the 1990 Masters had a rating of 10.5, meaning that exactly 10.5% of the country was tuned in. An impressive achievement for such a niche sport. However, this wouldn't continue, dropping to a low of 6.8 in 1993. It would rebound to a stagnant 9.2 in 96. However, golf was exactly that, stagnant. The script was predictable: an unathletic, middle-aged white guy claiming the green jacket every year. It was comfortable, familiar, but wasn't exactly pushing any boundaries. And unfortunately, it didn't look like it was going to change anytime soon. Well, that was until a 21-year-old from Southern California turned up and changed everything. Winning the 1997 Masters by a record amount of strokes.
There it is, a win for the ages.
Not only did viewership increase, it achieved a monumental rating of 14.1, becoming the most watched Masters ever, with 44 million people tuning in. But this shouldn't have happened.
Welcome to the green jacket.
Thank you.
By the way, it clashes with red turbo.
There's many unique aspects that make golf stand apart in the world of sports. However, one of the biggest is how long it takes to get good. See, unlike other sports where a young guy can come straight into a team at 21 and make an impact or win awards, golf simply doesn't work like that. As we can see on this graph, the majority of the world's most popular sports has a player peaking around their mid to late 20s, when the body is at its optimal athletic ability combined with a healthy amount of experience. Due to the precise aspect of the game, you find golfers peak later due to the years it takes to hone the muscle memory required to conquer such a technically challenging sport. See, even though by their mid-30s many have lost the raw power they might have had 10 years prior, it's made up for by their increased experience. However, every couple generations, a scary combination appears. A young guy with all the power and athletic ability one could possess, whilst also having the precision of a guy 15 years his senior. See, over the history of the sport, only 25 guys have ever earned the title of world #1, with it taking on average the very best 8.5 years to accomplish this. Now, we do see this time drastically reduced the better the talent though. Names like Rory McIlroy, John Rahm and Scotty Scheffler all managing to reach the top spot in half the usual time, with Scheffler in particular achieving it in a staggering 3 years and 8 months. However, almost no one rose quite as rapidly as Jordan Spieth, who in just over 2.5 years went from rookie to the world's best player. Now, even though this was extremely impressive at the time, it wasn't like we'd never seen it done before. Turning pro in August 1996, the world of sport had never quite seen a talent like Tiger Woods. In his first year as a pro, not only did he win the Masters by a record amount of strokes, he also became the youngest to ever do it at just 21 years old. See, not only is Tiger Woods the fastest to ever reach world number 1, he also managed it in a third of the time it took Spieth, and almost 10 times quicker than anyone else. Taking the top spot just 9.5 months after turning pro, it was clear to everyone that from now on, the game of golf was going to look a bit different. See, reaching the pinnacle of your sport is an achievement every athlete around the world strives for. To work for years, making sacrifices, overcoming self-doubt and criticism to be crowned the very best in your sport is an experience only a handful of people can relate to. However, to go down in the history books requires that level of performance to be sustained, something golfers have always struggled to do. See, inherently, golf is designed against domination. In the majority of sports around the world, your path to a win is through a bracket. So, for example, while there might be 120 players at a professional tennis tournament, ultimately, to win, it only requires you to beat 7 different players. In every match, your baseline odds are around 50%. Now, this does change the better the player though, like Novak Djokovic, who has a career win percentage of 83%. See, golf differs in the fact that you're not playing every guy one at a time. You play them all simultaneously. Given that an average PGA Tour event has a field of roughly 156 guys, your baseline odds of winning are just 0.64%, but it goes even deeper than that. In tennis, if you're the number 1 player in the world and you're playing at 90% of your maximum capacity, you will almost certainly beat the number 45 ranked player, even if that player is having a great day. However, in golf, if you're the number 1 player in the world and you have a brilliant weekend, hitting 95% of your shots, you will shoot roughly 15 under par. But out of a field of 155 other world-class professionals, the statistical probability that at least one of them has had the absolute greatest 4 days of their entire career and shoots 16 under par is incredibly high. And you have zero physical ability to stop them making a 40-foot putt on the 18th hole to beat you by 1 stroke. It's for this very reason that sustained greatness in golf is so rare, and why what Tiger Woods managed to achieve is even more impressive. When you combine the 1 versus 155 format, the 0.64% baseline odds, and the inability to play defense, the idea of staying at world number 1 for years on end defies statistical logic. So, for example, if a golfer manages around 20 to 40 weeks as world number 1 over their careers, they're undeniably Hall of Famers. Guys like Jordan Spieth, who spent 26 weeks at the top spot, or Vijay Singh, who managed an impressive 32. These guys had a solid season or two where they were generally the favourite in most of the tournaments they played. However, moving up a tier, we find the true all-time greats, guys like Nick Faldo, who dominated the 90s with 97 weeks at world number 1, or the more modern guys like Rory McIlroy or Dustin Johnson, who cracked the 100-week mark at 122 and 139 respectively. Essentially, guys in this tier aren't just having a hot streak, they literally define an era of golf. However, the tier above is where we get to the truly generational guys, like Scotty Scheffler, who took over the number 1 world ranking in May of 2023 and simply hasn't given it back. As of right now, his active streak sits around 126 consecutive weeks at the top. Combine that with his earlier stint at the top spot in 2022, he's currently sitting at 182 weeks as the best golfer on the planet. And in terms of active streaks, golf has almost never seen this before, with the next closest being Greg Norman with a 96-week streak in the late 90s. But the key word is almost, because as you've probably guessed by now, there's a final tier where we find one man all alone. June 15th, 1997 and May 17th, 2014 are 2 of the most important dates in golf. The first marked the day Tiger Woods became the youngest ever player to reach world number 1 at just 21 years old, and the second marked the last time he would ever hold the top spot.
Now, between those two dates, there are 882 weeks, or roughly 17 years.
Now, of those 17 years, how long do you think Tiger was world number 1? 20% of the time? 30? Maybe half the time? Well, consider this. Rory McIlroy, who people consider as a top 5 golfer of all time, only managed to hold the top spot 21% of the time over 11 years. Making 50% over 17 seems ridiculous.
So, you know what blows my mind? Goalkeepers are meant to be like shot-stopping robots, always focused, always alert, and completely emotionless. So, rightfully, if you check any list for the scariest, most feared players of all time, there isn't one goalkeeper in sight. Except, ironically, for the one guy who's often at the very top of that list. Oliver Kahn did not care what a goalkeeper is supposed to be like. He played like an animal, he was feral, always acting on instinct. To him, every match was life or death. In the words of his own teammate Hassan Salihamidzic, when you're one-on-one with Khan, you either take your shot as quickly as you can, or you get eaten alive. And so, rightfully, everyone knew not to poke the lion. Honestly, there isn't even a single footballer that could compare to this man. The only other athlete that ever reminded me of him was Mike Tyson. And I'm not even talking about the fact that Khan also tried to bite off his opponent's ear. I'm talking about the fact that somehow in private, behind all of that madness, Khan's work ethic and determination were just inhuman. You have to understand, in his own words, Khan wasn't talented at all. It was just that from the age of 6, he became completely obsessed with the art of goalkeeping. Just like Tyson vowed to follow in the footsteps of Muhammad Ali, from the moment Khan's grandfather gifted him Zeb Meyer's shirt, he decided to do anything to become the best. So after 12 years at the academy of his local club Karlsruhe, when he and the son of club legend Rudi Wimmer were brought into first team training to decide to become their second goalkeeper, knowing he was at a disadvantage, he finished the whole drill, kicked the ball back towards the head coach, and told him do it all again. After that, the manager didn't care if he was disrespecting some sort of legacy. As he said, I immediately knew it'd be my number 1. For the next 4 years, Khan did not relax for a second. He was so competitive, so relentless that at one point, one of the other goalkeepers in the team refused to share a room with him for fear a pillow might be smothered over his face as he slept, since Khan regards anyone else who wears gloves as his enemy. In fact, it was money for charity